pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning again, Neil.
Nice day, pleasant rain. I'm going to start with the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
If there's no objections or corrections, I'd make a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, we also have the minutes of the previous meeting. I do believe we should add the third telephone quote. There were 3 telephone quotes. It lists 2 of them in the minutes.
Okay.
And I know the one was,
We didn't really talk about it much. but
we didn't
I
really
certainly
talk
put
about
in
it,
there.
but I believe I think we should document that we did have a third quote. It was
Okay.
just,
That was
and then-
Cisco, wasn't it?
Yes.
yeah. And then in
About
about
40
the.
grand.
And then in the last paragraph where it talks about Bach's committee reports, it said he could attend a meeting with the governor, and it should be the governor's office.
Okay.
I didn't directly meet with Mr. Branstad, and that was understood before I left.
Okay.
It sounds better that way, but that's not the way it came about.
All right.
With those corrections, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as corrected. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. All right, motion is carried. I believe Dean is going to be joining us by conference call, but we'll just continue on until that call comes in. So Dave, you're first on the agenda, Secretary of Roads.
Morning, David.
Morning,
Morning,
everybody.
Dave.
It's actually kind of cool. Hope it stays that way.
Yeah, wait till Wednesday.
You're talking about the-
I know, I'm just talking weather-wise, it wasn't, not the hot seat.
Oh, boy. We've got a Fed coming on Wednesday to do an audit or whatever on one of our bridge projects. In fact, so we're gonna do that. Certificate of completion, I'm gonna jump ahead on that if you don't mind, it's on the top of my pile, number 1E. I usually sign by resolution the certificates of completion for farm to market projects and federal aid projects. A while back, we had one where some stuff was penciled in, and we got a little confused, so I brought it up, showing it to you that I've signed it, and that's for Graves Bridge or Virginia Calvers Bridge. But, that's something we're gonna show the Fed that's coming Wednesday for our audit to remind us that we better get that done.
So you just edited something here, Dave? Or just been done? Okay.
No, I didn't have to even edit it. Can you guys remember, I brought a certificate up, and I can't remember if it was for final pay on a project. We looked a little bit, but didn't find it. But they crossed off my name, they put chairman of the board, and I got the word, to sign it and approve it. I can't remember. I was thinking it was a certificate of completion on it, but it wasn't, that we found.
Of the hundreds of sheets of paper that go in front of us every day, that's one I don't remember, Dave.
Anyway, yeah, this was generated out of a program that Paul has on his computer field manager. Still,
Okay, so this is just for our information, Dave.
it's in for your information, yeah.
Do you need a motion on it or not?
We wouldn't generally do it.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Dave. Utility permits?
I've got 2 utility permits, both of them for fiber optics. One is rather large from Vantage Point. There's quite a few pages on it, and it's over in Drainage District territory over around Glidden. We had them place tile line locations that we knew about.
Good morning. Okay, I'll put you on speakerphone. We're into our meeting, our engineer's here, and we're starting with utility permits.
Okay, very good.
All right, you're live, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Morning, Dean.
Morning, Dean.
Good morning. Morning, everyone.
This is the route that fiber optics taking. I think they're connecting up some cell towers, but it's coming out of the city of Glidden. Going down, what is that, 210th there? Man, I can't even see that. It's 210th over to a mile west of Ralston, and then straight down, I believe, Zephyr. Just north of Coon, and then down the county line. Pretty lengthy project. And as you might know, there's a boatload of drainage districts, large tiles through there. And we've had some instances with them directional boring through tiles, so I'm hoping we don't get that. That seems to be a more common thing now with using those directional bores. They wind up hitting things they can't see on the ground, even though they try their best to miss them.
Okay.
And then the trouble shows up later.
Northwest of Glidden, that happened last year.
Yeah, they don't have to bore it either. Sometimes they lay a natural gas line in the sewer.
Yeah.
Line.
Yeah, just that half mile on Zephyr where I got some property, they have a bridge, there's a natural gas pipeline, and there's a county tile that goes under there. Who knows what else?
And who knows what else, yeah. And we're showing the bridge, we're showing the tile now, and so hopefully they'll have a heads up. Some of them are gonna, just to the east of Glidden there's that mess in there with drain 15 and 28 with multiple tiles coming into a manhole and multiple tiles exiting it. And if you hit any of that, you'd just be, it wouldn't be good.
What, do we have anything, not, this might be a little off subject, but it reminds me now. Any construction that goes on, any farm tile, is there any way that we can force them to fix that? And I'm thinking like the wind towers and stuff on the plow cables and stuff. I think SAC had a lot of trouble.
If it's within the roadway, we can, yeah. And they have, no, this company, for instance, Vantage Point fixed a tile west of Mount Carmel that they bored through a 10-inch tile by Ludwig's over there, by Nicky Ludwig's. And it was right in the shoulder of the road, it was underneath the box culvert, it was just a terrible mess.
Can you require them to do a certain depth when they go through those spaghetti works like that?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
make them drop down to 5 foot or?
They're going
or
10
short
foot
foot?
underneath the flow line, and so they're going quite deep.
That should help.
That
You
should
need
help,
a lot of
yeah.
issues.
But
But you're right, you never know.
You never know what you're gonna hit.
with a utility like this that's in county, they'd be right there to help us. But if you take one that's an older utility that's been gone for a long time, they kind of abandoned it. It's not like it used to be. Anyway, there's that first big one from Vantage Point. There's a second one that's also an optic fiber down by Manning. Doesn't have near the level of detail. It does have a map and e-wall there. Running along, I believe, 320th Street, east and west, in the shoulder of the road. And then once they get up here on Birch, or the paved road, the Manning Airport Road, in Manning and south of Manning, we're having them go out by the right-of-way line, so they stay off the shoulder, and we really want them in the shoulder on that paved road there, especially since someday that may get shouldered. We prefer to have them out near the right-of-way line.
Oh, yeah, probably now.
What section is that in?
That's a good question.
How many of these all township?
Yeah,
29, 27, 28.
sounds good, yeah. Gosh, I wish I could see that. Is that right? Northwest Iowa Power Loop.
It's not Vantage Point.
No.
Okay, Northwest Iowa Power Loop.
They must be doing something,
Yeah.
controller substation.
Yeah, I can never find your maps.
It's that black line.
Okay, I think I know where that tower is at too. I'll make a motion to approve the utility permits.
I'll second that motion.
There's two utility permits. We have a motion to approve both of them. It's been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay.
Asphalt project advancements. I don't know if any of you have got your 5-year program. I just bought a copy of mine up. I think it's on the 3rd page of the 5-year program. We've got 3 asphalt projects that we were gonna do in 2018, in fiscal 2018. And we've also got 2 federal aid asphalt projects that we were gonna do that year that would have to stay in that year since we would be applying for money through Region 12 for that. Larry Mattis from the Asphalt Paving Association was out last week, and he mentioned that asphalt cement, or the glue, the binder of the asphalt has dropped about $200 a ton, which is considerable. It's a component that makes up 6% of the asphalt mix. In 2015, it was $577 a ton on the work we did. And looking up the bids that we've had in 2016, it's running $350, or say $277 less a ton. On a typical resurfacing job, 2.5 inches, they have roughly a $30,000 per mile savings. Who knows if that's gonna
On
continue.
2 inches?
On 2.5 inches. I use 1,750 tons to compute that, that's roughly what that is.
Can this-
Who knows if it'll stay that way? But we do have enough, if we did all 5 projects in 2018, if we waited till 2018, we would actually have enough volume there to break that into 2 components and do 2 smaller sets, justify a plant where we've got over 15,000 tons in each one. And that could probably be better. Plus, we could segregate the federal aid from the farm to market work and not have the influence of the Davis-Bacon on the farm to market work, separate them that way. So rather than doing one great big project, we do 2 smaller projects that should both be economically viable due to their size there.
Should, if you're gonna split that off, that savings, Davis Bacon Act, it's a big savings too. won't it?
Should be, yeah.
I'm for anything to avoid that.
Yeah, so it's,
Will the 2 projects be bid separately, or can they be bid at the same time with winner takes all? Or which makes more sense? I understand splitting them up with the Davis-Bacon and all that, but,
we bid the Davis-Bacon ones in 2018.
Okay.
We bid these 3 in 2017.
different, okay, different years.
Different years, so they would be separately, but.
Absolutely, okay.
So
Missed that.
basically just moving them up a year.
Just moving them up a year, just to advance them. I'm not sure if we need a resolution to advance. Our instructions are not as clear with the computer program. We used to do a resolution to advance. I'll talk to the DOT about that, but I wanted to get your okay on it. That shows the projects and their project number that they would have, where they're at. There's a mile by Swan Lake coming up the township line, Lake Road that comes into town, which is one of our heaviest traveled roads. I talked to Randy about that. He would like us to come in up the Corp line till we get up to buy our old shed there, if you know what I mean. There,
Well, where is the corporation line
it ends right there at the shed, on that side of the road anyway. It comes further south, it comes a good half a mile further south on the other side of the road.
at? Corp line's gonna be out past,
McFarland Clinic on that side. But on the other side, that's all in the country. The map does kind of show it pretty good, you know, it's small. And then there's the 5 miles, Roselle, Halber Road, that back road that comes in, E46, and 3 miles, the Templeton Road. We're considering putting a widening on the base, maybe 1.5 foot on each side, maybe 2 foot, probably 2 foot would be the logical one. I wanna do some cross sections before we decide what to do to widen the base out a little bit, because a lot of the roads, edges are breaking up just because we've been laying 22 feet on 22 feet for a lot of years, and the top
Flaking
stuff is
off.
falling over and it's flaking off.
so all three of these projects got that issue.
Oh, they all got that issue, yeah.
Mhm.
That would solve this issue, plus help with safety and shoulder maintenance.
So you're looking at a total of about 9 miles roughly?
Yeah. Roughly all about 2.5 inches. We'll have to do the math on it, and see. We can get by with 2.5, that works pretty good.
It's gonna be 9 according to the map.
Three a little bit better. With Randy's addition, there might be just a tad more than 9, but it's not significant. We'll have some interesting things. We'll have a little bit of trail, and along the gardens out there, there's a little bit of trail to do, and that'll all be the city's expense out there. We'll have some good work going on.
Dave, I'm seeing 4 projects here. Is there 2 of them combined somewhere?
That one in the middle there, that 5 miles in the middle is combined, just a break for Roselle, where we took on.
But I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, 3.
That
1,
Halber
2,
Roselle
that
is
Halber
one.
Road, that 5 miles there.
Uh-huh.
That's
It's
all
just-
one.
That's all one.
Okay, I'm still, but I'm looking at 1,
Two.
2, 3.
No,
Okay, this is, because
That's all
so you're
one.
looking at 3 projects then?
3 projects.
I thought I heard you say 5, I'm sorry.
yeah, I did say 5. That's originally what we had 2 federal aid and 3 farm to markets. And we wanted to break that into 2 pieces, keep the federal aid in 2018, 2 federal aids, and bring the 3 farm to market ones in 2017.
Okay.
Move them ahead.
And what would you estimate the total savings just in the asphalt glue to be?
I would say that we'd be in the $30,000 range, so 270,000 maybe for that 9 miles. Now, that could wind up going up next week, but right now it looks real good, and it's
So what do you call it, the asphalt glue?
binder is what they call it now. They used to call it asphalt and cement, but they call it binder now. They came up with a new name.
So if we did move it up, and then we go to bid when, next fall?
Yeah,
A year
coming-
from now.
This coming fall, or maybe around February of 2017, we would bid these 3 farm to market projects.
Okay.
And then the year after that, once we get in federal fiscal year 18, which begins in the fall of 2017, in October of 2017, then we could bid those other 2 after that. So
Okay.
we probably have this coming winter a bid, and then the following winter we'd have a bid.
So what you're asking us today is just to move it ahead and then amend our 5-year plan with the DOT?
Yeah, I'm not even sure we'd have to amend it, Mark. I think just getting their approval, since we do have it, not in the accomplishment year, but we've got it in the priority year, and the first year after it, I think we can easily move that in there.
Gene, hand that map back here. I'm gonna write it down. Okay.
It used to require a resolution to advance the project, but I'm not sure that pretty early in the game yet, so.
So the stuff west of Temple, we need to let that alone till next, another time, right?
We would, yeah.
When we gonna ever try to tackle it within inside the city? I know they've asked a couple times.
We're gonna need some strength for that. We'll have to.
What year are you retiring?
That'd be the year.
Well, that's one that you're gonna have to,
It'd be a forced retirement.
you're gonna have to core it out and probably replace.
Yeah, that's
Unless you core out enough that you can utilize the whole curves and bring up that grade.
probably the best just to reconstruct the whole.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. 'cause
Yes. Oh,
There's
shit.
not much there to work with.
It's gonna be a goddamn mess.
This reduced cost in this binder, is that all attribute to the lower price of, like, oil is like below $50 a barrel or something?
I think so, but it should have been going down for a long time. but they
Yeah, I
held
was
it up.
say, because
And
it's about half priced what it was a few years ago.
Somebody told me there wasn't much asphalt cement in the current crude oils that we're using. But
I'm not sure.
I'm just glad it went down. You know, it used to be 200, used to be $25. Wasn't that long ago, it seems like. It was during my lifetime anyway, so it's really changed.
Okay.
But you did turn it 350.
350, 360, yeah.
Certainly has our interest, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's worth going for it. It could change overnight, but
Either way,
Either
But
way,
then you just forget about it for a time.
yeah.
we're gambling either way because we don't know which way it's going.
No, it could go down some more, but it certainly took it a long time, because just last year, you know, oil was low last year, they were charging us $577 on them. From Templeton to Alberta.
In addition to that, you mentioned just splitting them up to make this not a federal one and subject to those
Yeah.
Davis-Bacon wages is also very helpful. So how do you want to proceed on this, Dave? I'm kind of assuming you've got the general agreement of the board. Does anybody think differently at this point?
Not at all.
Just
No.
without taking a vote? What's the correct procedure to proceed then, Dave?
I've got some project numbers. I'll talk to Brian Cadis and see if they want us to do some resolution to advance or whatever to bring it in. I don't think it'll be necessary, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, as you know, we're on the same page, Dave. We're all in agreement. We just want to follow the correct procedure going forward.
Yeah. Most definitely. You don't want to get in trouble.
That's right. Neither one of us.
So I'll proceed ahead with that. If there is some formal action that needs to be taken with the DOT.
Okay.
Prepare the documents.
Any feeling to the contrary of any type here that we need to consider? Okay, go.
Well, like I say, I know all three of them projects, the edges are really falling apart on them.
Very good.
There are our oldest ones, the ones I didn't bring my map along, but they're the ones that have been down the longest.
How long do you think it'll be before you know what we do or get back to us on this
I'm
situation?
hoping next week. yeah.
Next week?
Probably
Okay.
should have done it ahead of time, but I
That's
just
one
didn't.
of the hell of a roads out.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
On to the next thing, I talked to, I've talked to several individuals about hauling gravel, and I found a fellow that would be willing to haul the gravel after they get done working for Stratford. It's one of the trucking firms that works for Stratford, where we're hauling the gravel on the road now. I'd be willing to do it between then and harvest. Get the stockpile hauled to Templeton, to Caneva Pit, and to Carroll. Our stockpiles it's almost non-existent at Templeton, it's very low at Carroll, probably non-existent either.
I
But
would
I don't think
say-
there's a pile even there.
Say you'd have to scratch your truckload.
We've got roughly an allotment of 33,000 tons out at the Boyer Pit pallets that we can haul out of there. That's gravel that we have that we're paying for by the ton as we take it out. We get a ticket for it. They load it. They have no problem with us using whatever truckers we want, our own trucks. We're using our own trucks in there now to haul it on the road. That we need to relocate some of that to get it in our possession, out of their possession and in ours.
What's the allocation of the relocation? Like Carroll? or-
You could easily take 15,000 out of Templeton, it'd probably be a good place for it. And maybe bring 10 into Carroll, and that would leave 8 that we would maybe haul on the road up there. Leave some flexibility with that, just depending upon weather and circumstances. But we would like to, because that's, with Hallett's, we've got that 33,000 ton contract that we need to use up. It's kind of out of their community pile, and they just take it off our contract as we take it out of the scales. But then next year, we're gonna get a 40,000 ton pile that's gonna be dedicated to us, and hopefully it'll be in April or May. But we're not certain of that yet, since we're not in possession of it.
What type of price did they quote you?
Quoted 18 cents a ton mile, which people I've talked to have been right in that range, a little higher, and one was a half a cent lower. Could have been the haul length. It appears that Templeton is about 31 miles, Carroll's 26 miles, so that's starting to get into a longer haul, which would drive the price down. So I would talk to this individual and get an agreement with him and work on the price the best I could.
How many trucks do they have? Or maybe a better question is, how long would it take him to haul 10 ton
He's,
or
he
10,000
says,
ton?
in talking with him, those figures, 15,000 out of Templeton and 10,000 at Carroll, and have it done before harvest.
Before harvest, just before harvest.
That's,
When's harvest? Okay.
when harvest starts, he'll go to work all the corn.
Okay.
He'll need his trucks for something else.
So he's motivated to get it done before.
He's motivated to
harvest.
get it done. He has a broker's license, and he's working with these other trucks that are working for Stratford Gravel right now, so.
And if he doesn't get it done, he'll leave when harvest starts anyhow, right?
Yeah. And that will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a motivation, but a cutoff date as well, probably.
Yeah, it's certainly my intent that we would get this done before harvest, like he says.
So what you're looking for is approval to hire, go into contractual agreement for this hauling of this gravel from the Boyer Pit to our stockpile sites.
Yes, yeah. So proceed a little further with it, get an agreement, because I think we need to type up a little agreement like we did with Stratford, telling, when we're gonna do it, the time frame, the approximate tonnages. We were gonna rent Beckstrom's dozer and leave it on site to push it up at Templeton, and the owner of the firm said that if he doesn't run with a lot of trucks, he could probably keep it pushed up himself and charge.
So-
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say, so what's our alternative then, if we don't do this? We just gotta do it with our men and our trucks.
Yeah.
And then will we get into an overtime situation likely?
We could get into overtime. We haven't ever been able to pull that volume stockpiling off. We always try and leave it for winter, but winter hasn't been good to us enough to where we could run in the winter where the temperature's decent, it's not freezing in the boxes. And we've got other work that we could do, other gravel haul we could do. And we do need to get it in a place to where we can access it, because we may not be able to get it out of Hallett's.
Do you have a written contract or quote from this person, or did you want us to make a motion to approve a rate per mile for him to consider to going into agreement with?
I don't have anything written, just verbal, just speaking about it. That was 18 cents.
So do you want us today to verbally or approve in our minutes 18 cents per ton per mile for you? Is that what you're looking for
If
today?
you would be willing to do so,
Okay.
that would be good.
Just
That would
want to
give
know
me
what the exact request
You can go
was.
ahead and finalize.
I can finalize it.
I'd make that motion to go ahead with it, 18 cents a ton mile. It's a lot of loads, 1,320 loads.
somewhere plus thousand to do that.
Will our trucks be running with them then too?
They could, there's no reason that they couldn't.
It's all per
but
ton, it's all, I think they should if they can.
Yeah,
if
if they're available.
They may run to put it on the road. Right now, what we're trying to do is we're getting the Sparks pit pulled down where we don't have any there so they can go in and produce. And we're gonna do the same thing at the Toyne pit. We don't have that much longer to do that. And then we plan to go up to Hallett's and start hauling out of there directly to the road. And that may coincide with their work too.
They will load us at the Boyer pit.
Yes.
Okay, but when they dump it at stockpile, do we have to have something there to pile it with, or how does that?
That's where we're planning to rent Don Beckstrom's D6 for $65 a tack hour, so when it runs, you get charged, but when it sets, you don't get charged. So it's
Okay.
a-
Our
it's one
person,
deal.
our operator, their operator.
This firm owner says that he will run it,
Okay.
if he has the time, which it sounds like he's gonna have the time, so, he'll do that.
Okay.
Also, yeah, otherwise we'll have to send somebody down there once or twice a day to push the pile up,
Okay.
have to find the trucks.
All right, okay. Okay, Marty, I believe, has made a motion to approve 18 cents a mile for this, and they got a second, I believe.
No, we don't have a second.
Huh?
We don't have a second.
Do we have a second for that then?
No.
I'll second it.
Okay, I missed it myself, so I'm glad I asked. All right, so we have a motion made and seconded. Sorry, I should have held the discussion till after we had a second, but now we do have a motion that's been made second to authorize Dave to hire this company for $18 per ton per mile. Is there any other discussion?
18 cents.
18 cents per ton per mile. Very good. That's the way it'll read in the minutes as well. Let's proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Aye.
Thanks, Dean. Motion carried. Okay. Employee classification change.
I've got a copy and the one that I'm going to give to Courtney. If you approve this. Got 3 employees, I just soon not mention their names, that have been here approximately 2 years. Each one of them has run a motor grader territory. One of them has a motor grader territory right now, a permanent territory. And they're working out really well. I'd like to bring them from operator 2, which is truck driver classification, to operator 3, which is maintainer operator classification. It's 20 cents an hour difference. Goes from $20.23 to $20.43 would be the class change. And I think Becky's got the annual thing written on there, what it would be per year, what they're going to be per year.
Same thing. Okay, same thing. All right.
I guess I would comment, all 3 of those have done a good job since they've come on. It's really impressive for young guys like that can pick it up that fast.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm tickled pink with every one of those 3 there.
Is this the typical longevity or employment span where people go from operator 2 to operator 3?
I would say it's pretty close. My consistency with that hasn't been the greatest, but at the 2-year level, I think they've achieved a proficiency to where we can call them actually a motor grader operator now. They're that good. And I've even had some members of the public call me and tell me, especially about one individual, one person even stopped in my driveway to tell me how pleased they were with the employee's performance as a blade operator. Which that doesn't happen very often.
So operator 2 is a truck driver and operator 3 is a motor grader.
Yeah, operator 1's entry, operator 4 is one that's pretty versatile.
So there is an operator 4, so that'd be like a backhoe and
Backhoe,
and
excavator, yeah.
excavator, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So their next likely step would be to operator 4.
yeah.
Over there.
And I think there's some in there that will go to operator 4 because they'll be doing more than blade work. There's not really that much difference in paved, it's a little bit.
My only request and comment would be that it stays in line with the, the union agreement that we've got in place with them for that type of increase.
Yes.
And I haven't had a chance, I didn't know what it was, so I haven't had a chance to look at it, but you,
Yeah, no, it does.
It's
there's
consistent
a
with
job
that.
description for operator 3 and one for operator 2, and that's the primary difference.
okay, and the same with the level pay increase?
Yes.
Okay. I just haven't had a chance to review it, so, just had them out last night.
So you're gonna update their job description as well then, Dave, if this is approved?
It wasn't that long ago that we updated the operator 3 job position, so
Okay.
it's a fixed one, but yeah, that will be their job description.
That will be, okay. Okay, we have requests from engineer to move 3 of our secondary roads employees from operator 2 to operator 3.
I'll make a motion to that effect for those 3 employees.
Okay, you got a motion to approve that for 3 employees?
I'll second it, provided it still is within that union agreement, so.
It is.
Yeah, good.
Okay, motion has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on this specific motion? Okay, then I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion is carried.
Do any of those do
Hmm?
Do any of those do
One does.
Except for the sand one, I'm gonna talk to you about that later.
Let's see here. Am I done?
Young guns.
Mhm.
Let's get something else.
You guys stick around.
Okay. I will, yeah.
So you can explain it, terms they'll understand.
Okay, Dave?
I'm done. I think I was gonna hang out for the Templeton, application for voluntary annexation.
Okay, that certification of completion, that's what we talked about earlier then?
Yes, it is,
Okay, got
yeah.
that handled? All right, okay. All right, real good. Anything else, Dave, for Dave?
I don't think you need any explanation on the voluntary annexation. We're just bringing the road in, so.
Yeah, what
next
speaks to
us.
us as owners, we're talking about that half of the road that we own.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if, well, I guess, I'm not sure if we do have ownership on that by warranty deed or not. I didn't study it out far enough, but it appears that it would be a good thing for them to go down there.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting that road at half that annex, so that way they can also put utilities in or serve the property and stuff like that, so.
We'll still have the jurisdiction of it. We'll still give them back some money for the portion of the work that they do outside the center 22 feet. We'll still be responsible for the road. We can't give the jurisdiction away, just like we have the road all the way up into Templeton, because it is the extension of the farm market road. But it will be within the corporate limits.
Okay, so, what exactly is this all changing then?
What's
Just
that?
including the road.
Huh?
Just including the road.
The road, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have that in the original application, they didn't have the road put in there, and actually, I think Carl's the one that caught it down
He
there.
did, and then they
Yeah.
wanted to name the road,
Yeah.
and can't really name a road you don't know.
Okay. Well,
Okay, so we're amending the original one then? Is that?
We are adding, this is kind of its own, because this
Okay.
legal's just explained, as far as
Just
I
the
can tell,
road.
it's just the road.
Okay,
On-
33 feet of.
yeah.
On-
60.
On July 11th, we added territory to urban renewal.
Okay, you're fine.
We accept it and support the annexation. And we had a resolution to add territory to Templeton urban renewal area.
All right. Next
Today,
one's done.
today, the first one is City of Templeton's application for voluntary annexation. And describes our half of the road there. And we are signing as legal owners. To have it described, the described property in it, list the legal for it, annexed into the corporate limits of the City of Templeton, Iowa. That's the abbreviated explanation of this application for voluntary annexation. So, at this point, if, we would need a motion to approve this application for voluntary annexation in order to pass it.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the City of Templeton's application for voluntary annexation. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Both same sign. That motion is carried.
Place here for the chairman to sign.
Okay.
Get out of here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a good
Thanks,
week, Dave.
Dave.
Bye-bye.
Stay dry.
Yeah.
All right, next for the City of Templeton is a consent and statement of owners. And don't know how to more specifically describe that, but it's just a statement of us, what the legal description is. And that, I don't know, how would you more specifically describe that?
Basically, about just a repeat of what you just did, it's just better stating that you're gonna do it, so I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second it again.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the City of Templeton consent and statement of owners agreement to be signed by the chairperson. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Both same sign. Motion's carried. And finally, third, we have a resolution number 2016-12. And it's just a resolution for the voluntary annexation acceptance. Is there a motion to approve that?
Also moved.
I'll second.
That's been moved and seconded. We'll proceed to vote, and it's a resolution. So it'll be a roll call vote.
Bach,
Yes.
Beardmore,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Danzer,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Motion carried. Okay.
This one, all five of
Need
us.
to get
It's
some
all right.
signatures here.
Yeah. I think you'll have to capture Dean's at another date.
Yeah, Dean, you'll have to sign this when you're in the courthouse again.
Okay, you do.
Okay, next we got Fricky Building roof discussion. And in your packet is, I've had some discussion with Zach concerning this, and he has had discussion with Andrews. Andrews has been up there doing some patch jobs, and Courtney and I have discussed this as well. And Andrews has provided us with a quote. I prefer we don't mention the dollar amount. But I asked Zach what the urgency was of getting a new roof put on there. And the situation is, whenever we get a heavy rain like this last downpouring, he has to replace a few ceiling tiles. It did leak. They think they did get it fixed. We just need to keep this on the radar, probably for next fiscal year, to plan on getting competitive bids for this and replacing the roof up there is what Zach feels is the correct thing. It's not an emergency, but just something we need to do in our, I don't know if it's necessary of our county planning meetings, but in our budgeting for next year, we should seriously consider this as one of our building improvements. So, since I've had this discussion with Courtney and Zach, thought the whole board should be apprised of this. You get an idea of what it would cost due to this bid by Andrews, which is a kind of a courtesy bid. And I encourage you to talk to Zach next time you see him and see what, I think you get the same story I did, but everybody just need to be aware of that.
What is that, a flat roof?
Yes, it is very flat.
And it was
Yep.
not replaced when we took ownership of it after that tower. It was just patched.
That roof was not replaced?
I didn't know this, but when we redid that whole building, I couldn't remember, but apparently we did not replace the roof. So that surprised me.
Surprising it's lasted this long.
Yes.
So we're just gonna.
Heat rises.
We'll just,
Exactly.
Exactly.
so I think unless someone, unless something more bigger happens, I think our philosophy just to patch it along until next year's budget and keep it in there. Okay. And then similarly, I wanted to bring everybody up to date in the courthouse windows update. I talked to Zach about that as well, and we had gotten a letter from Advanced Architectural, and there were two things they needed to do. I thought they'd done both of them, but I'm not sure yet. They recommended to Carroll Glass that they proceed with removing the existing cap bead, cleaning and priming the area and repairing a new bead. In addition, remove the glass stops on the interior and seal around the insulated glass units. And as I reported to you last week, Andy Ryman said he would personally take care of that on Monday, which would have been last Monday, and he did come out here last Monday. I saw him working on it. And I don't know if he did one step or two steps. Zach doesn't think he did everything, as I thought he had done everything, or assumed that he had. So I wrote him a little email thanking him for working on the windows. I just asked, is there anything else that needs to be done, and can we test this with a hose, or do we need to wait for a rain? And I sent that to him on Monday, the 25th, that afternoon. I didn't hear back from him, but, so it's mostly done, and I'm not sure it's completely done, but maybe, maybe not. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I think I let everybody, it was my belief last week that he was gonna do the whole number, and maybe he did, so.
Not that I was made aware of.
So, did you hear anything back from him that I didn't hear, Courtney?
No.
Okay, so that's just point of information on the windows, and we did get a little rain from that direction, but probably not enough to test them anyhow. Next is courthouse, the panic button discussion. I didn't make a copy of this, but I should have. At our county planning meeting, we talked about getting more panic buttons, and Cindy Houghton volunteered to take a survey to ask everybody, how many buttons do you have, what kind are there, how many more do you need? And the results was there's a request for 3 hardwire and 22 of the other, the fobs. And I'll just pass this around, but there's the results of the survey and the request. And just as a discussion at the county planning meeting where we all were, it was, I think it was our understanding, or mine anyhow, that it was pretty low cost and that we were planning on moving ahead with this. So we've got the results, and just here to the board to say, how do you want to move ahead? I don't remember what they cost, but they weren't too expensive, I don't believe, and where that money should come from. So maybe Marty and Gene need to see the results first. Dean, since you can't see the sheet, well, I guess I told you there were requests for 33 of the hardwired, and I believe 22 of the other kind.
3 of the hardwired.
3 of the hardwired?
3 of the hardwired. That's what
And-
that showed.
And what was the number on the?
22.
And 22 on the other one.
22.
Yeah, 3 hardwired.
So, do you remember what the predicted cost for those was? I don't
Do
think.
I?
Yeah, Dean, talking to you.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't.
Anybody else?
I don't recall
I
what it
remember,
was.
I remember it getting talked about.
Yeah,
I remember, and I just asked Carl, and he goes, no, I wasn't in on that, so
okay. All right.
Is Feld the provider for that?
I believe so.
How does the board wish to proceed on this? We made requests.
So, most of these also want more of these? They're portable one, then you just carry with you? These
Well, you
five?
can, like, the one in here is wireless, it's just stuck there.
So, okay.
And the one in my office is wireless, it's stuck up front, but I think it'd be nice to have one in the back too. Because if somebody goes to the counter, it's not
So,
always.
this is not a hard wire then? So this would be like a fob in here then too? Kinda like?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You can move it wherever you want.
So Cindy has done as we requested. She took the survey and got the results. She forwarded them to me to share with the board, which I'm doing now. How does the board wish to proceed on this? It's my desire actually, and that we proceed and go ahead and purchase these or get bids on them or something and move forward.
Probably,
It's not my individual call.
do we have equipment down there that would install into, or what?
You'd have to, we were gonna upgrade our panel, I don't know if that's been done yet, but Felds was going to do that, so we probably need to speak with them.
So you're probably gonna be kind of forced to deal with that company because of the panel we have?
I don't.
That's what I guess my-
I'm not sure, you know, that's who we're through now.
Who could possibly do this? We mentioned one person. Feld, is there anyone else who could do this for us?
I don't, you could maybe talk to Zach and find out.
All right.
He's a little more involved with that than
Okay.
I am, but I don't know who does that type of work.
I would like to get bids on these.
Yeah, me too.
I think we should.
Does
get
that
more
sound
bid.
reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want to proceed with it, but at the same time, I'd like to know dollar-wise what we're spending, and then we'd have to visit about what account it comes out of.
Courtney, could you visit with Zach?
Absolutely.
Zach, and then find out who the potential providers are and get bids that we could review at a future meeting?
Sure.
How's that sound to you, Dean?
Yeah, that sounds good. That would have been my recommendation.
All right.
Yeah, we need to get bids.
Okay, we'll move forward in that fashion then. Okay. All right, anything else on that? All right, now we have a Shift Gears Class C beer permit, Corner Station. Is there a motion to approve that? With,
I'll move.
is that a conflict of interest, Dean? No, okay.
I'll second it.
It's,
I don't have one.
I got an extra one.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Class C beer permit at the corner station near Templeton. Is there any discussion on that? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Here's one first, to stamp.
Okay. Stand. Okay, I'm gonna skip to number 10, it's fireworks permit. Rudy Babe, I believe, had one for August 20th.
I'll make a motion to approve the fireworks permit for Rudy Babe.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion made and seconded to approve the fireworks permit. August 20th will be the date of fireworks. Any discussion on that? Okay, let's proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. What I think I'm gonna do, the reason I skipped I wanted to do number 9 and number 12 together, because Jean would like to be here for both of them, so I intentionally skipped over the
She
semi-annual.
told me to do that.
Huh?
She told me to do her report, because I asked her, did you talk to her today?
I talked to her this morning.
Okay, then she changed her mind, and that's okay.
Well, I asked her if she wanted to be here for either or both, but
Okay.
I thought both.
Because I said I was putting it on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's do number 11, and then we'll come back to 9 and 12, I guess, which is the compensatory time. We started out talking about overtime payments, and it turned into a discussion about compensatory time. Mark, you take over. You did the research. You
Well,
did-
yeah,
Go
I think,
ahead.
the charge was to investigate what language our current union agreements have for this item. And what you have before you is just the language that speaks directly to comp time of the 4 units. I'll start with conservation first, because there is no mention of comp time in it whatsoever. it talks about overtime under section 2A-1, and of course, just read it, that overtime for all employees shall be for all hours worked in excess of 40 within a 7-day period. And then, down below section 3, where it says shall be compensated at a premium rate of 1 1/2 the hourly base pay, which is typical of all overtime in the United States. But there's no mention whatsoever in comp time. So if that's something that, the board wants to address, remember, conservation is a 1-year deal, so it will be available. Well, no, we did do a 2-year deal, I'm sorry. We finished with a 2-year deal there, so we'd have to visit about that in fiscal year 19.
In practice, what do they do?
That's a great question. Dean might need to follow up on that.
Dean, would you
I
know
can do that.
offhand, does conservation employees use compensatory time ever? Or do they always take overtime pay? Do you know offhand?
No, I can't answer that question, but I can follow up on that and get back to you.
You said you're the observer for that board. Why don't you, I'd appreciate that, Dean. We'll charge you with that. Thank you,
Okay.
Dean. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, and then moving on to the sheriff, I'll take it that it is described under Article 5 entitled Hours of Work and Overtime. And once again, it describes how the overtime works. It's a little bit different because it describes the normal work hours will be 120 to 128 straight time hours within a consecutive 21-day work period. And then it says for hours worked in excess of 128, the employee will receive comp time off work at the time of 1.5 rate, or receive payment at the discretion of the sheriff, which, we've got a new sheriff there. And I seem to recall in past discussions about this during the union negotiations that Doug was always under the impression that they always took comp time, or maybe I should use the term generally took comp time. But I know that we had discovered later on in payroll where we have paid out some of the sheriff's deputies in comp pay, so that's not always the case. So once again, I would make the recommendation that this be addressed first with the sheriff and find out what his plans are moving into the next 2 years, and then be readdressed in the next cycle of negotiations. But it clearly says, at the discretion of the sheriff. My guess would be is that he allows, the sheriff deputy to make a choice, would be my guess, but I don't want to guess. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So again, if there's a charge to one of us to visit with the sheriff about it.
And if that employee retires, resigns, whatever, payment is made at the current rate? Is that assumed?
I'll assume that'd be the way.
That's
It's
why-
not that way in every contract, though.
Well, and
It doesn't really address that. Because it does, it talks about how it's paid out, but it doesn't, the only one that really addressed if you need to use it was secondary
Correct.
roads and the ambulance.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other ones talked about it, but they didn't talk about how much you can have and when it will be paid out. The ambulance is probably the most clear.
Yes.
Secondary roads even allows them to carry over sometimes, so. I mean, they could carry over comp time for 3 years and get paid, so that's something to be addressed.
The ambulance one, that's been a few years ago, we had an issue with that, and that's why it was addressed.
Yeah, and it's very clear.
Okay.
It's very clear, but it's still, it's got to be at the approval by the director. And so, the ones that I have concerns about are the ones that are approved by the department head. I wouldn't want anything to be perceived as unfair. you know, whether it is or not,
Yeah.
you know,
See, that one
we're
of the-
dealing with unions who have full power of grievance, and I just wouldn't want, I want to avoid that type of concern. But once again, you can't use it as an opener to open up binding contracts either. It's gonna have to be addressed.
You know, the next contract.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we'd say is ask both the sheriff and the ambulance director to certainly be fair with it right now, or at least consistent. And then I would say you need to open it back up, you know, when the time arrives. But someone would have to make a general reminder to do so, or perhaps flag with Renee in which to bring it up over the next couple of years.
You know, that'd probably be the best, to have Renee make a note in her file.
Okay, but I mean, are you gonna direct a charge to do that, or do that yourself,
Well,
or?
I was thinking a little further down the line.
Or else it'll get dropped.
The work you did, Mark, is excellent. It showed us how it's handled each differently. Some, the director makes the call, secondary roads, the employee makes the decision. Secondary roads has a limit on the hours. Ambulance specifically says they get paid at the rate they were getting when they earned it. The others aren't clear on that, and they could be getting paid at their rate when they asked for it as opposed to when they earned it. So all that needs to be clarified. But the thing I was more concerned about is the people who don't have a contract. How is it stated for the file for the employees who are not under union contract?
I looked at the handbook we had in 2001.
Okay.
Which is before my time. It states on here that employees may elect compensatory time in lieu of overtime pay. However, the max accumulation of time shall not exceed 80 hours. The department head shall make determination and authorization. That was in the 2001, and in 2009, it doesn't even, it talks about you'll be compensated for overtime hours in the form of monetary compensation or compensatory time. It doesn't talk at all about
The 80-hour limit.
how much you can have when you have to use it. And I'm not sure, I mean, I wasn't involved in when the 091 was written, so I'm not sure why it got left off, if there was a reason for that. I guess if you're gonna address the
Okay.
unions, you probably want to.
Absolutely.
So that's a biggest concern of mine, is where it's not addressed at all
Yeah.
in our current handbook. That's my biggest concern. And then, as far as standardization between the union contracts and our other employees would be nice. It's not necessary, but, yeah, we're all over the board on this. And I think this board needs to decide what we want to do with our non-union employees, just so it's understood. I think the biggest danger is that there's no guidelines at all. And we need to establish guidelines, and each of us may have a little different idea what those should be, but we need to narrow that down. And I don't know if this is a topic that, I think it's probably a decision that should be made by the supervisors. It could easily be brought up as an excellent topic for discussion at one of our county meetings, which is the 24th of August, for discussion with the other department heads. What do you want to do?
Well, actually, the 2001 basically spells the way we kind of want it, right? It's got the hours on it, the maximum hours.
Accumulation of 80,
And
but I think it
how it's
should
paid?
state, the way I handle it in my office, because I think it's the most fair, is if they earn comp time in that fiscal year, or I use calendar year, but it is paid out what they were making at that time. You know, let's say they worked it in February, and they want to be paid out before the end of the year, they're not gonna get paid what they were getting paid July 1st when they got a raise. It goes back to what they were making in February. But not everybody does it that way. I mean, and the department head has the authority to decide how and when.
Right.
So I can't, say, well, I do it this way, so you have to. It doesn't work that way, so. It'd be nice if it was just very clear, so.
I guess my suggestion is we change our employee handbook to say what we want, and then
we need to make a note to follow up with our unions and get this changed.
I have my opinion, but I'll just ask you guys first, how would you like it to read in our employee handbook?
I think the secondary road seems to match that, where it's got to, you can't exceed more than the 80 hours,
Well,
and
and
it's got
Dave
to
thought
be.
they pulled that from the '01
I wonder,
handbook.
because to me, that's perfect. Otherwise, it would be, I think, a bookkeeping and budgeting nightmare for all your department heads. And it eliminates the opportunity of the perception that it's not fair.
Well, and I like how the ambulance says at the rate it was earned.
Right.
Because then you have to go back at the rate it was earned.
Right.
My question is, if the union contract doesn't address an issue, and we have an employee handbook, does the handbook oversee union employees if the union contract doesn't?
Yes, I would, certainly does.
I thought it did, if it didn't get
The
addressed in
the only,
contract, no?
it's my
I don't
belief
think so.
that the employee
I wouldn't
handbook
bet on it.
is for
I'm
all
almost sure
employees.
Renee has said not.
No?
So
I'm
the
almost
employee
sure.
handbook is just for non-union employees?
Yeah, even the
No,
ambulance has.
there are hundreds of, dozens of things in our employee handbook that affect everybody, union and non-union though. It just doesn't sound reasoning to me. I'm saying that if they conflict, the union contract
Trumps
trumps
it, yes.
the employee handbook.
Right.
But if it's not addressed, the employee handbook is the word. That's
Yeah.
my understanding.
Yeah.
That I would probably go along with you. But if it conflicts-
Am I believing what I want to believe, or is
No,
that the way it is?
I think you're right. I think if there's a conflict, then the union.
the contract trumps it.
supersedes it.
Yeah,
Because
I
it was,
guess I-
because it was put in there for a reason, for some reason.
I meant if it wasn't addressed in the union contract, does that employee then look to the county handbook as the rule?
That would be my belief.
Isn't it your recollection that the ambulance has its own employee handbook, though?
I thought we
too.
did two of them that time. We did one union and one non-union.
I think they do have their own separate.
I think ambulance unit has its own
Okay.
handbook.
This is interesting. We start out talking about overtime. It morphed into a compensatory time discussion, and now we're
Talking about handbooks.
talking about the validity of a handbook for union employees on items not discussed. So this has been a very good discussion in reality.
You know how to find out the answer? It's called the county attorney.
Right.
Well, and being HR in our office, it's hard for us because we'll get asked something, and how do we answer it? You know, if
Yeah.
they're union, we look at the contract. If it's not in there, where do you go? We usually go to the handbook. And if the ambulance has their own handbook,
pretty
I didn't
sure
know they
they
had
do.
their own handbook.
I'm pretty sure they do.
So,
I'm pretty sure too.
I guess
Okay.
there's communication again.
My thought is we are supposed to be getting free legal advice to some extent through ISAC, through their legal counsel. They work with 99 counties in Iowa. I think we should address this question to them, say, hey, it's our understanding that the county handbook handles all employees. However, if it's a different situation in a union contract, that trumps the county handbook. Is this a correct belief? Is that a
Right.
fair question?
Right.
Because that's the way I think it is, but I can't prove that I'm right. And I think that reflects what everybody's here thinking.
Did Renee do this last time?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Okay, that would be step one, ISAC. Step two is I think we need to formulate how we would like to have compensatory time addressed in our handbook. Hearing a little bit of discussion here, I'm thinking we want to limit the hours to 80, have it be at the discretion of the department head, and and if it's paid, it should be at the rate it was earned.
And paid out within that year.
That's what I would say, put a time limit that they can use it,
And
otherwise
paid
you
out
drag it out.
within that year, just like the secondary roads.
Yeah.
The 2001 version, was it word for word?
It's,
Okay, hold on, let me get to it again one more time. Okay, go.
overtime shall be paid for the rate of time and 1/2. Talks about in excess of 40 hours. Overtime shall be paid for any required non-scheduled Saturday or Sunday. Okay. Employees may elect compensatory time in lieu of overtime pay. However, the maximum accumulation of compensatory time shall not exceed 80 hours. Department head shall make determination and authorization of overtime.
Okay.
It doesn't state that they have to use it.
I'm not concerned about carrying over from year to year as long as it never exceeds 80 hours or a certain figure like that.
Mhm.
What I am concerned about is an employee billing up hundreds of hours and then at retirement getting, making a budgetary difference for us,
Well, it becomes a liability for us, a big liability.
a financial liability. So I like the idea of saying, hey, after you get 80 hours compensatory time, you're gonna have to start taking the check.
That's
But
that's
I-
reasonable.
But I don't have any problem with carrying over 80 hours for your entire life or employment here, as long as it's paid at the going rate. If someone here sees differently,
I think I would agree.
let's have the discussion.
I think I would agree. And by the way, that's exactly how it read here, with the exception of the second line. It just says determination and authorization over time shall be made by the engineer. But in your case, it would be department head.
Sure.
Yeah,
But it
so
really
I think that
doesn't
makes
say in
sense.
there about paid at what rate, or at the existing rate of earn.
The
does
only
it?
one that did that was the ambulance.
Yeah. So I think the secondary roads, appears to mirror our 2001 handbook with the addition of, just needs to add the ambulances line of payment. Payout should be at the rate earned, which is fair, because that's what
I
that
think it
employee
is.
was worth at the time that they did it,
I think it is.
or valued at, or whatever.
I
however you
mean,
wanna
if you have
say it.
somebody carried over for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, so, right.
Might do a little, might have to do a little fact checking, find out what they were making, 5 years from now, but.
Courtney,
Yes.
do you know, do we have employees who have more than 80 hours accumulated?
Well, I thought I tracked that, but I don't, I'm tracking vacation, is what I was tracking. I thought what I
So-
gave the state auditors was comp time, but it's actually vacation, what the vacation they'll earn and what they had left in June.
But
So
should-
each department head should track their own employees.
Okay,
But don't you think you should also have a copy of that though, so we know?
It's really
It's up
not
to the
her.
department head.
Yeah, if it's up to the department
They
head.
turn it in when they want paid out for it, we see it then, but we don't see each employee's, what they
Right.
have for hours.
then,
We don't see that.
I'm not sure it's a problem, because I don't know if anyone has more than 80 hours, but if they do, are they grandfathered in? Or do we pay them everything excess 8 hours? I would think they'd be grandfathered in, because if we do this handbook change, it wouldn't be retroactive. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, that
So-
is, when we addressed the vacation in the 2009 handbook, we grandfathered in people that were earning the unlimited vacation versus capped at 4 weeks, where we have it today. So that may be appropriate as a parallel. And I don't mean to digress, much further either, but it just raised another question, that is it perhaps worthy of doing a countywide comp time and overtime audit to find out where we're at today?
I could certainly request, I mean, I have to send out requests here this week to all the department heads to turn in vacation hours for their employees. I could certainly please include comp time in a separate line item or whatever, because I can't put comp time with what I do for the state auditors, but we could at least have it to see.
I think that's a good idea, Mark, just to have Courtney, are you thinking of having Courtney just survey all the department heads and say, what's our situation on
Yeah.
the audit, on the
Right.
I think it'd be
compensatory
long.
time?
And do we want to make it, effective June 30th?
That's when the vacation is, so that'd be nice, because they could probably look it up in the
Coincide.
same place.
Mhm.
So, probably not very important to have a lot of discussion what to do with somebody that has more than 8 hours, because we don't even know if we have anybody there, but something to keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to send ISAC our letter, basically clarifying the employee handbook, how it affects union employees on matters that are not addressed in the contract, and those that are, of course. Courtney's gonna do a survey to let us know what our situation is, And then it's my understanding we'd like to update the employee handbook.
We can do that. I think Renee helped us, but when we changed the mileage rate, we had to update and add a new page to it. We could probably do that here too.
And then what, everybody gets a copy of that in their
That
payroll
new
stub?
page.
Okay.
And then
Do you
Dean-
have them all sign off on it, that they acknowledge that they received and read it?
No.
I don't think that'd be at all bad either.
Okay.
Shouldn't say they didn't see it.
I can't get people to sign up that read the handbook.
All right,
Yeah.
Really?
and, go ahead, Mark.
And then Dean was going to check in with conservation as far as what their practice is.
Okay,
I
right.
think we had like 4 action steps there.
Can't do that. You can't withhold pay for any reason.
When we have our updated handbook with Renee, I assume, when did we want that effective, what date, the change? Is this a calendar year or a fiscal year thing?
Be a fiscal if you're gonna cut it. Well, we're not gonna tell them they have to use it.
How does the vacation work? Is that
It's
calendar year?
fiscal.
Calendar.
Calendar?
Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people's are hire date, some people's are calendar, some people, yeah, so that's the department thing. I would say calendar because we usually say you have to use your 2 personal days before the end of the year. So I would say calendar year. It would coincide with personal days, and most of our departments do run on a calendar year when it comes to
Okay.
vacation.
That would avoid increased complication, obviously. I'm okay with calendar, I just wanted to decide that in advance. Okay, all right. We will follow up on those 4 things. Also, the survey, Dean's gonna check on conservation, and we'll contact Renee as far as updating the handbook. And just to clarify, in the handbook, we want to state that there would be the department head's discretion, whether or not to do compensatory time, 80 hours maximum. You can carry it over, but 80 hours is the limit. And when it's paid out, it would be at the rate it was earned. Anything else?
Yes. that's
Okay.
it.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about on our discussion here? Okay, great discussion. I think we're nailing the company down. It was just kind of floating around out there. Okay. We're gonna move on to driver's license discussion and approve the treasurer's semi-annual report. Courtney, do you wanna see if Jean wants to come down here? Just tell her we're gonna start discussion do her report and start discussion. She can come if she wants. I think she will be here.
Man, there's a lot of money that floats in and out of here.
Yeah.
Jeepers. You need this once a year just as a refresher.
Yeah.
$25 million is all.
Oh, you're exaggerating, Mark. I got 24.3 on mine. We have different, oh, we got the same number.
24.5, yeah.
I just want to make sure we had the
Yeah,
same number.
yeah, yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Guys, so you would know the difference, like what the advantage of having a permanent tenant button versus the mobile would be?
Well, you could, if your employee is mobile, they're not always at the same workstation, and a situation would arise, then they'd have the flexibility of carrying it around
Yeah, I
with them.
understand why the mobile ones are good. I just don't understand why you need permanent ones if you had mobile ones.
I think wired is just no different than any other
Same
telecommunication device, as it follows a wires much
Right.
faster than
A lot
through.
of times the mobile you put where you can't wire.
Right.
Same cost.
Hardwired wouldn't require a battery even, whereas, yeah, hygiene.
Good morning.
Just remarking about how much money flows through your office on a given year, it's staggering.
And we balance.
And we balance, that's a good thing.
That's an excellent thing.
That's an excellent
Okay,
thing.
It's good, isn't it?
Because your personal checkbook always
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah.
You guys probably saw the fund balances for June.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a
Yes.
very good thing. The reason it's so late is we have to publish our semi-annual report, so I wanna make sure that everything ties before I give you guys that sheet.
Okay, I'll comment on those. We'll discuss those later. Okay, Gene, we got a couple things on the agenda, and right now we are up to approve the treasurer's semi-annual budget. Mark remarked about the enormous amount of money going through there, which we all realize. Any questions from the board or any comments from Jean concerning the semi-annual report? I visited Jean earlier. She didn't have anything that popped out right away. Anything else you thought of, Jean?
No,
Okay.
no, I have nothing really. It's all pretty
All
much
right.
self-explanatory.
Is it common that we don't have any stamped warrants at
Yes.
the end of it? Yeah, it's common.
That's not- We don't do stamped warrants.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I thought we had in the past, but maybe not.
We did when I first started.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thought that was with drainage.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no other questions or concerns, I would entertain a motion to approve the semi-annual treasurer's report.
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report. All in favor of the, any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion is carried. Okay, DOT discussion. And I don't plan on making any decisions today, but I think it's good that we discuss this because it's very new to us. It's a really hot potato. I'm getting a lot of comments from the public, as I'm sure you are. I give a committee report right now because on Tuesday, a small entourage went to the Capitol and visited with Michael Boozalo. Michael is the governor's chief of staff, him and a couple people from the DOT. We met in the Capitol. Quite a few people from the chamber. I rode down with Rick Hunsaker and Jim Owen and Shannon and Senator Sigabart and Representative Best were there. And we had a good discussion with the chief of staff, Michael Boozalo, and went over how it came down. And Michael said that Paul Trombino just does an excellent job. He plans ahead, he looks ahead, but he really laid an egg or dropped the ball on this one on how he informed everybody about it. He listened to our concerns, and we had several. Our first request, of course, is that they do not close it. We explained how important it was to the economy, how Carroll County has a disproportionately high number of people with CDLs, and that it was just really bad management that they announced it on July 12th and telling us that the key was going to be locked on August 30th. And the fact that we have to have legislative approval, and it will take at least 5 months, probably 6, who knows, to get something up and running if we so decide. Okay, he heard all that, he understood it, he apologized for how it was brought out to us, and he pledged his cooperation in the future. He's gonna get back to representative or senator telling us what they decided on our request to keep it open, or at least to keep it open until we could have a option here. I encouraged him, and he really did say, "We'll do whatever we can to help you." I says, "Well, that's good to hear. It didn't happen that way," and he understands that. But I said, I haven't talked to my board about this, but it's all about money, as you've explained it to us. They said it's nothing political, it's all about money, and they needed to cut corners somewhere, so they closing down a few other places. But the 2 drivers license, of course, is us in Clay County. Says, well, it's all about money, and these people aren't gonna get fired, they're just gonna get transferred. I says, perhaps our board, our treasurer would consider working with cooperation like you suggest. Could you move your machines to some place like our courthouse and avoid your rent? Could you transfer your employees a few days a week to our courthouse as opposed to some other office, since they're gonna be on the payroll anyhow? If you can't fund this, which I wish you would, maybe you could help us keep it going full-time, or at least part-time, until we till we do have the chance to get it up and running, if that's what we decide to do. And if you do cooperate, I think it would be an easier decision for our board, although I made it clear that this wasn't something that we already decided at board meeting. I was just talking of different ideas that Gene may consider and this board may consider. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions and concerns, but this is kind of the idea I'm throwing out to you. What do you think about some type of proposal or working with them? And I emailed Gene over the weekend. I told Gene, we need to know what this is gonna cost to get up and running, what it's gonna cost to sustain, what we could do for cooperation as far as moving things around. Gene, I don't need the answer today, and I told you that in the email. I'm not, I send you this email on Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday perhaps, and I, you know, that'd be unfair to say, and I need you to give us an answer on Monday morning. That would be highly unfair to you. And it would be probably not, and another question I had is, when is the drop dead date, I think I called it. At what point do we have to make a decision if we want to, for example, is December 1st the last point at which we can decide, yeah, we're going to do it and still have it up and running as quick as we can with, or when is that? So that was the third question I had for Jean. And I'm asking her at this point to think about it, but if you have any comments today, go ahead, because Jean wasn't there Tuesday. I don't think Jean probably wanted to get politically involved, and this was a highly politically charged meeting we had on Tuesday at the governor's office, which I appreciate that, and I appreciate your pledge to help us in any way you can. I kind of wish you'd have been there for a reference person, because we had some questions that you probably could have answered. And the one big thing that this Michael Boozlo did not know was that we needed to be legislatively approved before we could do this. He was not aware of that. Big deal. He knew the numbers. He was a former accountant for the governor and staff. Everything else I thought he understood very, very well. I don't know how he missed this one along the way, but he did. He did not know until Tuesday that we needed to have approval of the legislature. Any thoughts? I feel like I just gave a speech. Jane, jump in, please.
And a lot of that is discussion that we've had previously too. You know, we're in the process right now of rounding up the data, and that takes time, as you know, reports that I've requested from both the DOT and other treasurers, so we can take a look at that. Once I get all that data together, I'll certainly take a look at it, and we'll try to put something together as far as our cost estimates, space requirements, personnel needs, remodeling costs, if any, training requirements. So at this point in time, I don't think it's even reasonable to even project a decision date, you know. Worst case scenario is, we know already that there's gonna be a lapse of service. We know that already, that's a given, the way it's set right now. The lapse of service will be at least until we're codified, January or February. So 5 months from now, is there a difference between our lapse of service 5 months, or 6 months, or 7 months? You know, the people that my major concerns in the lapse of service is, of course, the elderlies, the elderly people, the CDLs, you know, because we do have so many trucking and transportation companies. However, if DMAC does offer that October 1st, you know, they can, at least we have an option, that's not a perfect option, but an option for people to get trained and tested. However, they'd still have to go to a county that offers a, you know, CDL for the knowledge testing and get their CDLs issued there, you know, so a neighboring county until we're up and running. We need to decide, do we want to take on CDLs? Do we want to compete with DMAC if DMAC is offering that? You know, that's another thing that we need to consider. Another issue will of course be the new drivers, learners permits and graduated licensing. You know, that they're the ones that are going to be impacted too. You know, having to go to a neighboring county or DOT station. The renewal part of it, you know, with the kiosk, I think that's that and the online renewals for the majority of people, that's the answer, you know, for now, temporary answer now. I don't think we want to fast pace this, you know, and then miss something. I think we wanna take our time and look at everything. Of course, you guys, like, you're good about that, you know, too. You wanna make sure that you have all your ducks in a row before we go ahead with anything. The problem, of course, another problem we come into is scheduling training. You know, right now, we're in our vacation mode, you know, and so we've already got 1 or 2 out of the office at a time, you know, for vacation, so we've set another third one for training. You know, we are gonna be rather short-staffed, so there's a lot of different things that are gonna take, you know, we've got to take into consideration. Ideally, it would be nice if we were trained and ready to roll if we decide to go with this, ready to roll as soon as we're codified. I don't know if that's an option, you know? And you had asked me too, one of your questions was, you know, perhaps we could experiment to see how we do without the service. You know, by the time we're codified, we'll have an idea of how we'll do without the service because of the lapse from September 1st until we're codified. But the more I look at my office, I've got a group of treasurers that are gonna come in and they're gonna take a look at my office with me. But the more I look at it, I think we'll be able, I think we've got the space that we're going to need. We might be a little tight, but I think we could offer the service directly from our office and cut down on our remodeling needs there. I think the space is there, it's just a matter of just restructuring things a little bit. You know, we talked about personnel already. At this point in time, I don't know what I'm going to need for personnel, but I would like an agreement that, you know, I think we will definitely need one more staff member. That's my guess, but I would like an agreement, rather than to make our services suffer. If 6 months down the road, we see that we're not offering the service that we need to offer, we're running into problems being short-staffed, I would like an agreement on the table that if I need one additional staff member, then I'd be allowed to hire another additional staff member. So 2 if necessary.
1 plus 1.
1 plus 1. Start with 1, and if the need arises, so our other services don't suffer, I would like the option to hire a second one. And I would definitely visit with you about that before, you know, we would make any moves.
I think open dialogue and cooperation between you and this board is imperative with this issue. I appreciate the cooperation we've got. In regards to the kiosk, where are we at there?
They're going to be here August 5th, I believe. The DOT is going to send a couple of people from the office on August 5th to check our networking, where they're going to meet with me. I've asked Carl to be involved in that too, and also Zach. I've spoken to Zach. He's going to make himself available. I visited with Greg Schreck and Perry Johnson. They came over and took a look at where, you know, the space that we have and where we'd like to put it, and they have no problems with it. He said it meets code, it's up to code, so the space is minimal. Like I said, I think it's 3.5 by 7 feet. The machine itself is no larger than an ATM machine, but we need to rope off or partition off some area, and I think we could just do roping like they do at the theater, you know, especially if this is just a temporary basis, you know. I don't think it's gonna take any major remodeling or anything, or additions. So, August 5th, we should have a better idea.
That's Friday.
Is it August? Maybe it's not August 5th, then I'll have to check my date again.
August 5th is Friday.
Okay. It isn't August 5th, it might be the 15th. I think it might be August 15th.
That's a Monday.
Yeah, I think that's it then.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll know more on that date about the kiosk, but that's moving along nicely.
Does anyone here know what Clay County is doing?
Yes, I've been in contact with
Yeah.
Sandy quite a bit. In fact, we are gonna go visit a couple of treasurer's office this Friday, just to see what they have set up, just so we can get an idea of what our space needs are too. She has a board of 5, and she said one is adamant that they are not taking it on. we're paying his comments were, you know, we're paying our state taxes for a state program, and they're pulling it. Why should the county fund the service that the state is supposed to provide and is being paid for? So he is adamant, he said it, and he said that, you know, when you look at the elderly, that she was concerned about the elderly population. He made a suggestion that they transport their elderly once a month to a neighboring county to get their licensing taken care of. But I don't think he was considering maybe liability and also the burden that that puts on neighboring counties also, so. But, one was adamant that he did not want it, another one, said he'd listen, but he's not in favor of it, and the other three have been pretty silent so far. But they have a meeting tomorrow, board meeting tomorrow, and I think they're gonna discuss it further tomorrow.
People you're having come in, do they have a kiosk now?
The people that are coming in to look at our needs.
No, I mean, have you come in contact with someone that has a kiosk?
No, the kiosks, I believe right now, I'm not aware of any kiosks that are located in courthouses. I think this is a first. I think the kiosks are mostly like, in a Hy-Vee store or a department store.
A couple
something of that nature.
libraries, I remember
A couple
mentioning,
of libraries,
yeah.
yes. But, no, and that might be a good idea for me to contact some of them to see what's required.
Why they
there.
went that way,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if they, and I'd like to know if the ones that had it ditched it too, and why they ditched it.
One did, and that's why they have an extra one right now. And,
Well,
find out.
in our case, if we would take on the driver's license, as soon as we got codified and up and running, we didn't want to ditch it because whatever license or issues you had, we didn't have to get any revenue on.
But I don't
Am I
know if
right?
that $7 will cover the employees it'll take to handle.
I understand that,
That's
but-
where the math comes into it.
Yeah.
But I understand, but it's cost us also
Right.
to have it there too.
Absolutely.
But you are right, any renewals that are done to the kiosk, the state keeps the revenue.
So I said it again. Any money to the kiosk still goes to the state?
Right, the county does not retain any money.
That's what I'm sitting here.
Yes, yeah.
Gene, I'm gonna ask a dumb question. You've used the term codified several times. Does that mean approved through legislature?
Yes.
That's the term for that?
Right, and I think regardless of what you decide, regardless of what the board decides whether or not you wanna move forward with driver's license, I think it's definitely important that that the code is amended to add Carroll County to this, as a county eligible to offer driver's license. I think it's important to have us added whether or not we take it at this time, because if we decide at this time it doesn't work for Carroll County, 6 months down the road, if we decide that we wanna go with it, then we're already in place.
Done.
So,
Dealing with a lot of what ifs. What
Yes.
if we do CDL? What if we do just stay at kiosk? But
Yes.
if we do a full-blown thing like they have, I don't know how you're gonna find out all this information very quickly.
yeah.
And the thing is
It's
that-
not, it's gonna be slow moving, it really is, to get all the information together.
And the thing is, if we do CDLs, we only get paid so much there too, right?
$7.
$7.
All right.
$7 for
Whereas
the
if-
issuance, and that's regardless of how many drives you do, how much skills testing you do, how much knowledge testing you do. You get $7 for each one that's issued.
Whereas DMAC is gonna probably charge $200 to $300.
200 to 300 for
Well, I
the
thought he said
training.
1 to 200 was the.
That was the
Yeah,
initial.
That was the initial, and I heard the other day it was.
And I think they wanna stay on board with the other community colleges.
Did you
So
hear
they're gonna
him at
provide
CAC,
vehicles to do their testing, though, right? Correct.
I don't know, they're even providing a vehicle.
Did you hear him at CADC? It sounded like it was gonna be 300, and it sounded like they would charge what everybody else charged, and if they weren't gonna lose money on it,
Yeah.
which is,
And-
that's a lot of money, and you think about Farnerbachen, or
So,
someplace like that.
that's kind of where I was getting at, because, yeah, you and I were
It's-
at the same meeting.
Still less expensive than taking your own truck out of county somewhere else to get tested. It takes 2 people in and better part of a day. And they seldom pass the first time.
I was talking with Cecil Bloom after our meeting at Rolling Hills the other day, and we were talking about the CDLs, and he said that's where it takes the time, because you've got the written test, a lot of them don't pass that first time. 2 to 3 times to take that, then you've got the driving test and trying to get, they're contracted with a retired sheriff or state patrol guy that does it, and he's looking at retiring, so they're kind of in a pickle there if somebody will take that over.
And
So
CDLs will need one person out of the office
Yeah.
all the time, you know.
he said that's the biggest time.
There'd be your one additional person right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have, even on the driver's license, that person, you got a lot of people come up for a new license, they're gonna be out of the office quite a bit. Because they're gonna drive with them, right?
Not everyone. You schedule so many, and you can have a scheduled day
Right.
for driver day.
Yeah.
For driver. You can
That's-
schedule.
Is that the way it is
That's
now?
what-
Mhm. There's a
that's-
lot of counties that will only
No, but
schedule
that's not the way it
drives.
is over there now, is it?
Probably not for the DOT. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know.
Do counties share that drive, do they, like a pool of counties, have a person that'll come in on Fridays and do your driving, and on Thursday they'll be in Sac, it's the same person, that they
I-
all share that cost?
And I can't answer if it's the same person, but I can tell you that there are some counties that have CDL drives just one day a week.
That's what
And-
Crawford does.
And I can tell you that there's probably a person who's trained to do those drives that does schedule drives.
That you could get in on a piece of that
Probably,
pie, maybe.
yeah. And that's the other thing, do we have to offer driver's license Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30? You know, there's other offices that only offer it maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, so
Balance
it's
your workload that
out to
way.
balance out the workload.
My understanding is that's our decision.
Yes, that is correct.
The level of
That's-
service.
yeah.
Presumably, we will be lacking Saturday service, whatever happens. But that's a decision that hasn't been made, but that's one thing
It's all
DOT does.
things we need to look at yet, yes.
All
Well,
right.
is it conceivable that we could agree to take on the basic testing, basic primary licensing, and then walk a little bit, and then see how the CDL thing goes, see how DMAC goes, see how the climate goes, and then decide to take it on perhaps at a later date if the need requires it?
Yes, that's very possible.
Well, that's
Baby
that's
steps.
my sentiment today.
I am hesitant to take on the CDL thing when we have a private entity that can do it. I don't think it's government's job to compete with private enterprise. And government's here to provide services that private enterprise cannot do. They cannot take care of our roads, that's why we take care of them. They cannot do the sheriffs, that's why we do them. They can't issue driver's licenses, so that's something we should consider. But CDL, if a private entity wants to do it, I would be pretty hesitant to do that.
I think the CDL thing is gonna be a thing where we have a partnership with DMAC, whoever the driver, let's say John Carroll contracts with DMAC, and then we issue the actual card. It's gonna be a partnership.
Partnership?
Well, we have to issue the card no matter what,
Yep.
correct?
I think
They
so.
have to go
I think
to-
we have to do that.
But-
Is that what you're saying, is
Yeah.
the extent of the partnership? We have to do
Yeah.
the card
Yeah.
alone.
Will they be offering a course that gets them everything with their certificate, and they walk into Gene and say, I want my card today, and all she has to do is issue it?
That's where it works.
You don't
Yep.
drive, you don't do anything with it, you just.
They do the-
issuing agent.
Yes.
DMAC will do the written test, the driver will do the drive, and when they get that certificate, they bring it to Gene,
Now,
she gets the card.
I've got a dumb, this is probably a dumb question, you always said it's never a dumb question. But a CDL, let's say if I have a CDL comes up for renewal, I just gotta come up here, then if you were issuing a license, just get a renewal.
Answer that.
I don't have to go back through training or anything,
I
do
don't think you
I
do,
don't
I
think-
think unless you let it expire.
If you let it expire,
If
you
you
have to
let
go
it expire,
back.
that's- yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my guess, I don't know
It's reissued
for
once you
sure.
do your driver's license.
Kinda like the
So
motorcycle
you just go
license,
up
if you
here,
let it
Your
expire.
motorcycle, everything's all one check.
Yeah, yeah.
You just pay more money for it.
Yep.
I've never had one, so I don't.
So is that kind of the sentiment of everybody here today? Is that we're going to certainly
My-
pursue this at a basic level at a minimum, right?
Mark?
I'm fine with that.
I would have, I'm leaning that way, but I can't commit to that until I get some figures that I need from Gene on how much it's gonna cost, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm not making a motion, I just,
Yeah.
I just wanted to take the pulse of everybody
Yeah.
and how they feel about it, We've got media in the room, all of us are taking calls on it. We've got tons of
Now, when you
constituents
say
asking us
minimum,
questions.
You mean minimum time you do on it, or just minimum service?
Well,
Issuance of
Yeah,
driver license.
issuance of the basic
Yeah.
testing and start to finish
Yeah.
from, on a minimum, on a Class C, isn't that what they call
Yes,
that?
yeah.
And motorcycle?
I'm not quite so sure about motorcycle
No,
yet.
I'm not so sure about motorcycles either.
That's
I believe
another
that
DMAC
service-
offering, so-
That's the service that's offered.
Or is that
I'm
different
not
than
quite so
dealers?
sure about that,
Or a
right?
dealership offering.
The
the
local
Yeah.
dealer
However they
offers it
wanna
too.
handle
The
it.
motorcycle
How I would
testing.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it gets
But
into
I'm
a,
like you, I would just soon, we need to have that auto
Yeah.
license. That's-
I told Gene the first time we met, this thing's gonna get political. I wanna minimize the politics in it. But at the same time, is there a central theme that Carroll County takes on what private entities cannot? I mean, isn't that kind of the extent of what government does? No one else can be doing, well, I mean, the surrounding counties can be doing the basic Cs, but why should we ship our people out? That's why I have an interest in doing that, and I know there's gonna be some costs involved, and I wanna see what those costs are. But my intent is, I don't wanna say regardless of what those costs are, but knowing that there's gonna be certainly significant costs involved and additional personnel, is to at least move forward with Class C issuance and testing. I understand tomorrow's a new day, something could change, but
And I totally agree with you.
I'd like to
I think
head
the
down that track.
CDL, I wanna keep my mind open. If DMAC does not provide it, then I do not wanna see our people driving 3 or 4 Dodge Rangers.
Right.
to it.
One other point that I did bring up in the meeting with Michael Buzalo is the $7 retention that we get for driver's license. I says, I'm assuming there's 81 to 83 counties who would be in favor of increasing that fee. And I couldn't remember how long that fee has been at $7, but it's been many, many, many years.
89?
89 or 84, something like that. In
I
the
think
80s.
89.
Nobody in the
Changed.
room knew
Yeah.
either, but
Yeah.
nobody could remember when it did last
And
change.
the treasurer's office has lobbied nearly every year to get that changed, and
So,
you need a stronger lobby. I'll get behind you on that.
Okay.
so anyhow, that was brought up as since you're, it's not an unfunded mandate, but since you're dumping it on us, I would hope that the DOT would also support increasing of those fees.
Well, and
for
I
us.
asked the question of him last week, point blank, he said that they've allowed the colleges to set their own fees. Why haven't they allowed the counties to?
Well, many legislatures
just a-
look as a fee increase, as a tax
increase,
increase,
but-
and
That's what they
no
told us.
tax increases are popular, I don't think.
Yeah. Still a fee for service.
The other
Gene,
thing-
what are we missing, Gene? Anything?
I don't think so.
Marty, do you have another comment?
The other thing that's gonna weigh in on this is how much cooperation we get from the state, whether they will extend it or not too. That could play into it too,
That's
yes.
true.
Could change
That's true.
the game quite a bit.
Mhm.
I would bet that they don't.
I would bet not either, but
But-
never say never.
Right.
Well, did he say
I've
the other
lost a
day
lot
that
of
it took like
bets.
3 weeks to train a person?
6. Minimum of 6 to transfer.
Oh, I thought he said something like.
Well, that's, in all of our discussions, I've been told 6. 6 by the DOT, 6 months by the treasurers. So-
Right.
But if we have someone from the DOT in our office, when we open our doors, I'd be comfortable with that, I think. You say 6 weeks. One thing I did want to touch on was in your email to me, you did talk about maybe the possibility of pulling DOT staff into the courthouse. And, I'd be in favor to that too, but that has been a discussion that we've had in the past with the DOT. And they said because they're closing this office because they have vacancies to fill elsewhere. And they're pulling their staff members in to fill these vacancies where they're needed the most. I don't think that's going to be something that they're going to even look at, but I could be wrong.
I get the feeling that they're not concerned about the local economy because we talked to them how it's affect the local economy in Carroll. Well, they don't care because it's all staying in Iowa.
Right.
If it was something that was moving out of state, they would be very interested, but they don't care if the economy shifts from one county to another. As long as it stays in Iowa, they don't care. Anything else on driver's license discussion?
That's all I have right now.
Great discussion. Gene, anytime something new comes up that we need to be informed about, get a hold of Courtney or I and get on the agenda or email us, whatever it takes. We
Okay.
wanna
So we'll
keep-
look for your call tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day.
Yeah.
While she's here, I have a couple of just really quick questions that she might be able to help with. Do you know what the kiosk can offer that online doesn't? Are you aware of?
Not-
Basically the same thing.
It's
The
same-
picture.
Pretty much, yes,
The
the picture.
camera.
Do the picture.
There is a
okay.
camera.
I was just thinking like, why not just have somebody who can help somebody on a computer versus needing a whole kiosk
Camera.
thing, right? And then, do you know, so let's go back to the $7 thing, just as a point. What state resources will your office still be using? Seems to me this week, a lot of county resources, you're only getting $7, and I know it has to be legislatively changed. But what actual state resources would your office do for this?
The DOT will supply us with the equipment,
Like computers and.
the computers,
The cards.
the cards. Actually, we won't issue actual cards, we'll do the temporary,
Right,
like you
they
get
mail
right
them
now.
out, right?
Yeah, and then they'll mail them out. The camera for the photos, the eye exam, you know, the testing for the
Right.
exam, they have
The number machine,
the number machine.
take a number.
No.
Yes, and we hope to get rid of that, but I think it could happen if we like it.
I already asked her about where we're putting that.
Yeah.
The number machine.
Gene, one more thing, nothing to do with driver's license or the semi-annual report. I visited with our state auditor. My question was, we used to do cash counts. Why haven't we been doing them, or should we do them? He suggested that he says, I don't think you're required to. He highly recommended do a cash count, particularly in your office, because that's where all the money is at. So.
You're welcome at any time.
Okay, here's the deal. We are going to do a cash count sometime. It's going to be unannounced. However, we're not here to cause hardship. Is this something that we should do after a meeting, at the close of business, just to convenience you so we don't disrupt your life?
I would say probably at the end of the day would probably be the best.
When?
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day?
Would probably work the best for us because we're constantly working out
Okay.
of our cash box during the day. And at the end of the day, when we close down, we'll know exactly
Okay.
where we're supposed to be.
I have to
you
speak
know.
with my fellow board members about that, but I thought I would mention that to you
Yes.
while you're in here, and we'll have more discussion
Yep,
here.
anytime you guys.
Yeah,
are
you used
ready
to do-
it.
used to
We,
always do it.
we did one, our last one, I believe, was when you took
Yes.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Peg left and you came
And I
in.
think they used to do it always on the 31st of December. The board used to do it years and years ago.
Year end, yeah.
31st
Yeah.
first of December, and
Yeah.
they did a
Some
little
counties still do
celebrating
that. I've seen it in
at
their
the same
minutes.
time.
Well, there
Okay.
used to be a lot of things done different years ago,
Yeah. So one of the board members was in
Prior to
charge
my-
of bringing the
prior to my time.
refreshments, yes.
The
So,
bottled water.
I don't know who wants to do that. but-
All right, thanks, Gene. I wanted to include you on that brief discussion.
One thing I might want to bring up, if you might want to keep interested, it would be a week from this Tuesday. I think that DOT people are going to be at the CADC meeting. I can ask Shannon have you, maybe if you're interested in being here, see if there's any more new information comes up. That'd be it. You want me to check into that for you?
Sure.
Okay.
When is that?
I think it's a week from Tuesday. It would be the.
Next
So
Tuesday.
we're looking at it's pretty small print, the 9th.
Yeah.
August 9th.
I'll check with Shannon.
Okay. And I'm gonna be in and out of the office quite a bit because visits that I have. And so of course, with Shannon, you know. Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gene.
Yep, thank
Have
you.
a good week.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the manure management updates. We have Shown Farms 1 in Section 11 of Grant Township. They've changed crop rotation. Carson Site, Section 27, Ewald Township. They've changed crop rotation and are using manure analysis. Justin Schroeder, Section 33, Wheatland, changed crop rotation using manure analysis and updated soil samples. Ryan Schroeder Home, Section 21, Arcadia Township, same thing, change crop rotation using manure analysis and updating soil samples. Okay, committee reports. Marty, would you like to start with committee
Sure.
reports?
Last Wednesday, went into Region 12 to sign checks there. And then also went over to Vale for the Rolling Hills meeting and with Wesco and toured the transition house. It's kind of interesting. That came a long ways in a short period of time. There's 7 bedrooms in that home, and as of today, I think there's 4 clients moving in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Today's opening day, isn't it?
Yep, today is opening day. And then on Saturday, had the Arcadia Fireman's Parade. That's what I had last week. As of right now, I have nothing for this week.
Okay. Gene?
Tuesday had CADC, they had a regular board meeting. They went through their financials. They also went through the Small Business Administration gets a funding request from CADC because they have an office here in Carroll, and they did approve that funding request for next year. And then there was a lot of discussion in regard to the DOT office closure here. And then there was, she brought up about different forms that they're gonna be attending, and then also there's the CVN conference in August that Rick and Jim will be going to. And then in September, there's a data show that they will be going to. And she listed there were several people that are gonna be, they've got appointments with at that. And they kind of cut the meeting short because of the fact that of the group going to the governor's office. That was it. Then on Friday, I did go to Carroll Clausen for coffee in the morning. And then this week, I think I have was tomorrow we're going to do the jail tours for 3 different counties. That's what I have this week. For this week, so. Okay.
All right, thanks, Gene. Mark?
Sure, mine was really brief. On Tuesday, I attended the RSVP foster grandparent meeting. And I've got all of your notes right there. It was essentially their annual, I will call it their annual meeting, where they approve all of their year-end financials. You know, the one